I am not Nicholas Alaverdi, and I do not know how to make this clearer.
People are convinced that this guy is a man named Nicholas.
This is a case of mistaken identity.
You say you've never been to the United States?
Never in my life.
They ended up calling the police over there in Scotland, and when they came in to look at him, this is when they realized that not only did the tattoos look identical to this man who had passed away the year prior and was a fugitive from the US.
They claimed in court you were identified from tattoos.
That is not true. I've never been dead to anyone.
But that he also had a scar above his eyebrow, just like this guy, and his fingerprints matched.
Who are you?
I am Arthur Knight, and this is my wife, Miranda Knight. And unfortunately, there are those who would claim differently.
Are you Nicholas Alaverdian?
Absolutely not.
So who is Nicholas and what did he do? Nicholas Alaverdian was born on July 11th of 1987 in Rhode Island. Nicholas's mom's name was Diana. In 1989, Diana finally mustered up the strength to leave Nicholas's father, Jack. However, it wasn't easy for her to leave him because not only did she have 2 children, but she was pregnant with her 3rd. She filed for a divorce, but she also placed a restraining order against Jack because she said that he would come after her and she was afraid. Now, she would later move on and meet a new man. This guy's name was David Rossi. David Rossi swooped in like Superman to save the day. He really tried to do everything that he could for Diana, and he even went as far as adopting her 3 children and giving Nicholas and his 2 younger siblings his last name. And this is how Nicholas Alaverdian went to Nicholas Rossi, because he took his stepfather's last name. However, David Rossi would say that this was not no easy task. These kids were troublesome. I mean, they were wild. And Nicholas was allegedly the worst one of them all. This is when things get fuzzy of what is the truth or not. The way I'm seeing this is we're in this pattern with Nicholas, and he's young, okay? We're in this pattern of him getting in trouble all the way when he was little, to going in the facilities, to trying to talk his way out of things. When he can't talk his way out of things, maybe sue. And I'm starting to see a con artist being developed in these patterns, in my opinion. But this is the thing, and I don't doubt that that happened. He said that everywhere he went, they either SA'd him, they beat him, they stole anything you can think of. Just about. Nicholas said it happened at every single place that he went. He was able to rub elbows with some politicians, and at just 14 years old, he was hired as a legislative page in the Rhode Island House of Representatives. Nicholas said that he informed lawmakers about his negative experience in the system, but he received no assistance. For somebody that had been through everything he'd been through, he sure wasn't scared to stand up and speak out what he would claim to be his truth. In 2008 is when Nicholas's legal troubles would start. According to a Sinclair Community College student, she met Nicholas on a campus in Ohio and had lunch with him. This young lady said that after she was finished eating with Nicholas, he asked her, "Do you mind if I walk you to your next class?" She said, "Sure, no problem." She thought he was a gentleman, and that was very nice of him. But instead of Nicholas walking her to her next class, she said that he took her through the basement, and this is where he pinned her against the wall and began to pleasure himself. And this is when the charges were filed against him for SA. In 2012, while Nicholas was going to another college, he was kicked out and didn't graduate because he was withdrawn by the administration because the university learned of his S offender status because he did not register when he was supposed to go. And then in April of 2013, Nicholas tried to sue that same community college for making serious life-altering false allegations and claimed that he was deprived of a jury trial. This suit was dismissed by a judge. Former Rhode Island State Representative Brian described Nicholas as brilliant but dangerous, accusing him of having swindled a lot of people by persuading some Rhode Island lawmakers to give him money, but sometimes with threats of accusing them with the R word and assault, like basically saying that he would accuse them of it, "Give me money or I'm going to tell people that you did this." Nicholas didn't have any problem at seemingly like getting women. He had a problem keeping women, okay? Because in 2010, he actually got married. He was married for less than a year, I think a little bit over 6 months, and his wife divorced him and put a restraining order against him. Nicholas also got into trouble, and a warrant was put out for his arrest because he violated the protection order because he kept calling his ex-wife and basically stalking her. But I guess he decided to quit calling her then when he met a new woman, where he got married just a few years later in 2015. This was his second wife, and she wouldn't stay his wife for very long either, because 7 months later, this woman filed for a divorce and a protection order again against Nicholas. After their divorce, Nicholas failed to adhere to the judge's order to pay her over $7,000 in overdue spousal support and legal fees, and so instead he just left the state that he was in, Ohio, and went back to Rhode Island. Then get this, y'all. In 2017, Nicholas was living with his friend in Providence, Rhode Island. The friend would later get a restraining order against Nicholas. This friend that allowed Nicholas to move in with him said that he refused to leave and that he was stealing his checks and cashing them. Nicholas eventually left the United States, and this is when he moved to South Bristol, England, with a woman named Miranda Knight. According to Miranda's brother, Nicholas dated Miranda in 2019, and they got married in early 2020. None of Nicholas's family or friends were present at the ceremony, and Nicholas allegedly never spoke about his family and told Miranda that he was from Dublin and was working in online marketing and public relations. This is when Nicholas allegedly became aware that the FBI was investigating him for fraud. His former foster mother, Sharon Lane, alleged that Nicholas opened 22 credit cards under her husband's name, racking up almost $200,000 in debt. According to Nicholas's former lawyer, Mr. Pine, Nicholas had moved to Ireland by late 2019, which would hinder any attempt of the FBI to have him arrested because an arrest would require international cooperation. And back in 2017, Utah investigators began processing a backlog of untested SA kits. In 2018, one of the Utah kits, originally from 2008, revealed to match Nicholas's DNA from an investigation of a 2008 SA. A sealed arrest warrant for Nicholas was issued in September of 2020. So because his DNA matched this previous SA, this is how they were able to really be like, okay, yep, we need to get him no matter what country he's in. But in January of 2020, Nicholas reported that he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It is said that Nicholas provided this information to multiple media outlets. Like, he wanted to make sure that was out there. And then a person claiming to be Nicholas's wife stated that his illness had lasted for months, and it included heart disease and multiple heart attacks. And according to Nicholas's family and his alleged wife at the time, he passed away on February 29th of 2020. Nicholas's former foster mother, Sharon, said that she had been approached by Nicholas's biological mother in July of 2020, who asked her to look into the reports of his death. When Sharon read the comments written in his obituary and memorials, she was convinced that that style of writing was Nicholas's, so she concluded that Nicholas may have faked his own death. It goes on and on and on about what a wonderful person he was, and he did all this stuff. But Nicholas's alleged wife confirmed that no, the person that nobody's seen her face and knew who she was because she was staying low, he didn't fake his own death. We were there. We saw his ashes get spread at sea. And then on February 22nd of 2021, an Irish newspaper, Sunday World, reported that they were unable to find a death certificate for anyone under the name Nicholas in Ireland. But in reality, in 2021, Nicholas and this new woman that he was with moved to Glasgow, Scotland, and this is when allegedly Nicholas took on the name Arthur Knight. Then this brings us to the COVID situation, the tattoo situation, and Arthur Knight being in the hospital. This man even goes as far at some point to say that he believed that somebody came and tattooed these tattoos on his arms to match Nicholas's to set up Arthur for the crimes of Nicholas. I mean, this guy doesn't stop. True con artist. Now, even though Arthur had been arrested in the hospital, had a bail hearing there, he was getting bonded out, he was going back, he wasn't showing up to court, and he was saying it was because he was sick. He was doing all these interviews with Dateline and stuff. And you guys, I'm just like watching this like, You really got to think you can get out of anything. And mind you, he was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder at 12. So now he's on Dateline doing these interviews. And you guys, when he tries to prove to the interviewer that he can't even stand up, I lost it.
People say that's an act. Let me try to stand up. Let me try to stand up. Exactly. Exactly.
On November 11th of 2022, the judge ruled that the arrested man's identity is in fact Nicholas, basing his ruling on fingerprint, tattooed, and photographic evidence. On November 28th of 2022, the police in England confirmed that Nicholas was under investigation for an R word there too. He is so dangerous. He's not just a con artist. Nicholas is currently in Scotland waiting to be extradited back to America. And I hope that this trial is televised, y'all, because it's going to be a whole show. And I'm trying to figure out about Miss Knight too, about Miss Miranda. I don't know her. I don't know what she went through, but I think it should be she should be investigated as well. Now, when he was asked, why did you take your wife's last name versus her taking your last name, he said he really wanted to separate himself from his childhood. He had been through some things and he just wanted to start over fresh. According to Arthur, he had a wonderful family, in love with his wife. He was doing great. This man's literally just gone all over the place, hurting everybody in his wake, and justice needs to be served. When I look at his father's history, and that's something that I did not mention in the beginning, that his father, even after like the restraining order situation, his biological father did go on to get arrested multiple times, allegedly for DV situations with other women, also fraud. So it kind of makes you wonder how much of the hereditary genes were in there, being fed by the narcissism, and by him getting into the system and rubbing elbows with maybe politicians and stuff, and finding a different way. I think it's a combination of all of it. But I cannot believe that this guy has been able to get away with as much as he's been able to get away with.